Hey guys, I'm back in my kitchen and I wanted to show you, I've got pumpkin. Remember that pumpkin that I roasted? Well, this is one of my go-to recipes that I make all the time, but I don't make it for me. I make it for the dogs. So I have two grandpuppies. One of them is living with me right now. So I make homemade dog treats. Super easy recipe, and I've eaten them. They're really good. So I have this pumpkin. There's about 2/3 of a cup. I add an egg, fresh egg, and I'm gonna stir that in. And then I add wheat flour. So the trick is that you want it to be a really good wheat flour. So I have this sprouted wheat flour that I use a lot when I make sourdough breads, and I always use it in my starter. It really helps to give my sourdough starter some really goodness. So the thing about this is it's not like baking a cake, so you don't have to be super particular. About 1.5 cups of flour, and I'm gonna mix this in and get my just keep mixing it until it forms a dough, and then I'll show you next steps. But they're really good and the dogs love them. So I've got the dough. I'll show you. You can add as much flour as you want. You don't want it to be too sticky. So I added a little extra, but then I do flour the board. So what I've got here, so it's you want it to be a little bit nice and firm, but a little sticky, but not too sticky. And so what I've done is I've got it here on a board, and I'm gonna roll it out as thin as I can. I'm gonna do flour the board, and I'll add extra flour if I need to. And then you're gonna cut them up into, I just kind of do like some squares. I'll take the pizza cutter and just roll it. And then I pop them on a baking sheet lined with parchment and bake them in the oven. And super easy, super delicious. So I'll show you when I get to that step. I'm gonna get these rolled out and start cutting them up. So I've got one batch already ready to go, and I'm rolling out. I usually split the dough into two sections just to make it a little bit easier. And what I've done is I've put, this is where I put the extra flour, right? I put some on top, I put some underneath. So when I roll it out, it doesn't stick to the board, and it doesn't get too sticky. So I'm just gonna finish rolling this out, and as thin as you want. I mean, they don't have to be super thin, but I find I can get a lot more out of them, and they get nice and crunchy if they're nice and thin. So I try to make them as thin as I can. And if some of them are a little thicker, it's okay. Like I said, the dogs love them. They don't know the difference. So then what I do is I just take a pizza cutter and I cut them up. Nothing fancy. I just cut lines and go across this way, and then if they're too big, I'll go back and make them a little bit smaller. I get them all cut up, and that way it's just a super easy way to cut them. And these are a little thick, so we'll go that way. And then I just take a little spatula and I scoop them up, and I want to brush the extra flour off, so I will kind of like shake the extra flour off onto the board, and then I put them onto a baking sheet, spacing them just a little bit apart. And I put them here on the baking sheet, and get them in the oven, and they will be ready to go. And I'll show you once I get them baked. I've got the dog treats, and they just came out of the oven. I have a few more in there, but I put them super close together on the tray. It doesn't even matter. They come out nice and crunchy. I will shake some of this flour off, but like I said, I didn't put all the flour in, but I'll show you how they like snap. They're nice and crunchy. Even the fatter ones are not quite as crunchy, but what I will do, because it's evening and I'm gonna be done baking after this. I've been baking all sorts of things today. So what I'll do is I'll shut the oven when they're done, let it cool down a little bit, and then I will stick them back in the oven and just let them stay in the oven overnight, and they'll finish and they'll just get nice and crispy. But the dog absolutely loves these things, and I call them Grammy snacks. He's sleeping, but I can say, do you want a Grammy snack? And he usually comes running. It's pretty cute. So, but yeah, they're nice and crispy and crunchy, and I've tried them. They don't have sugar in them, but they taste good. I mean, they're just pumpkin and flour, right, and an egg. So you could make them into a people cookie if you wanted to, but they're a super easy homemade dog treat. If you looked at the ingredients in dog treats, a lot of them are full of junk and just not really good for your animals. So super easy. They're also very inexpensive to make. You know, a little bit of flour, some pumpkin. I had fresh pumpkin because I had roasted that pumpkin, if you guys saw that video. So I used that, but oftentimes I don't, so I'll just use some canned pumpkin. And I get just the canned pumpkin, not the pumpkin pie filling, because that has other stuff in it. Just straight canned pumpkin, and I'll use that. And he loves them. I keep them in a tin so they stay nice and crunchy, and that's the go-to snack. So that's my recipe for you for today. I'll put the recipe up on my blog. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. God bless you. Look below for lots of great information and the link to my blog and the link to some of my offers. And if you want to learn more about working with me, check out my website. God bless.